In the last 4 decades, the Persian Gulf has evolved from a region of mostly small fishing villages and nomadic groups to the global centre of petrodollar-fueled excess. Cities like Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Doha and Riyadh have sprung up seemingly out of nowhere with the promise that they have something of real value to add to the global economy beyond just being a nation-sized gas station. All of these cities are marketing themselves as both a tourist destination and a business hub to rival centres like Singapore, Hong Kong, or even New York and London. Of course, it's easy to make most of these ambitions a reality by just throwing endless piles of oil money at them. And an economy that hands out trillions of dollars worth of contracts, runs high-quality subsidised airlines and implements very generous tax policies is going to attract a lot of international interest, but that's clearly not sustainable. There are the headline issues like the ultra-ambitious NEOM project and its centrepiece, The Line, which has been scaled down from 170 kilometres to 10 kilometres to now less than 2 kilometres. Don't worry, Saudi Arabia, it happens to everyone. But while it's easy to laugh at the growing list of ludicrously bizarre failed projects, they are a sign that the endless oil wealth of the Gulf is not really that endless. That could quickly become a major problem for these countries because they've staked their future on that dream of tourism and international business. But it's becoming increasingly unclear if these industries will stick around for longer than they're paid to. In the race for the hearts and dollars of international businesses and wealthy tourists, reputation is everything. Dubai has gone from being internationally recognised as the wonder city of the future to that kind of tacky place where crypto bros rent Lamborghinis to look rich for a weekend. That's to say nothing of the negative attention that the other Gulf states have received. The only way to know for sure if their economic plan for longevity is working is to see what happens after the oil wealth runs dry. But by then it will be too late, and at that point all of these big projects, generous tax incentives and questionable migration policies will just be a drain on what few resources they have left for what few people they have left. So, are the Gulf states' economic developments really building sustainable industries, or are they just playing pretend with oil money? Are there more sustainable ways to guarantee the economy's longevity? And finally, what happens to these places when the oil wealth dries up? Real quick before we jump back in, have you ever been denied access to content or noticed prices changing based on your location? Feels like the internet's playing games with you, right? Let me tell you about something to make your online experience a whole lot easier. Today's sponsor, Surfshark VPN, does just that. With Surfshark, you can choose your virtual location and access the internet as if you're anywhere in the world. Travelling abroad and can't watch your favourite shows? No problem. Want the best deals on flights and hotels? Surfshark helps you avoid price discrimination by changing your location, saving you money on everything from tickets to subscriptions. And while you explore online, Surfshark encrypts your data, keeping it safe from hackers and prying eyes, whether you're on public Wi-Fi or at home. Plus, they have a strict no logs policy, meaning no tracking or snooping, ensuring your privacy stays intact. Ready to take control of your online world? Go to surfshark.com/economics and use code ECONOMICS to get 4 extra months for free. With a 30-day money-back guarantee, there's zero risk in trying it out. For most of their history, the Gulf states have had very small, sparse populations because geographic obstacles simply couldn't support a large population. There were very few arable regions, very harsh conditions, and nothing really worth living there for, except for the groups that had been there for centuries and their nomadic customs that helped them weather these difficulties. Maritime trading was an ancient staple, but much of that revolved around the slave trade, manuscripts, and new technological discoveries that assisted with these limited markets. But after George Bernard Reynolds, a British geologist and oil industry executive, discovered oil in 1908, the paradigm shifted violently towards the extraction and exportation of the precious resource. Suddenly, it didn't matter if the land couldn't support people because they could export oil and import literally everything else they needed. The economic development has transformed Gulf societies and economies, and at the same time the population has also undergone a significant change. Specific countries like the UAE are now home to almost 100 times as many people as they were when oil production first started to ramp up in the 1960s. A lot of people have moved there as oil workers and support workers, but a lot of people have also moved there because of the industries the country is building. Top-tier engineers and business executives have made a home in the countries inhabiting the Persian Gulf, often used for PR to show how developed the region has become. However, the bulk of new labour consists of underpaid labourers. The conditions they endure to build oil-funded vanity projects and questions regarding sustainability of this Persian Gulf oil boom are contributing to a growing controversy. Specifically, the kafala system giving Gulf countries almost total control over migrant workers' employment and immigration status. The lack of regulations and protections for migrant workers' rights often results in low wages, poor working conditions, and employee abuse. Even despite these now very well documented problems, this paper population boom by itself is also not sustainable because it was never really meant to be. The Arab states of the Persian Gulf stand out with men outnumbering women by almost 4 times in Qatar, followed by the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Oman, Kuwait, and Saudi Arabia. These elements undoubtedly contribute to the growing disparity. So in addition to these social changes and concerns, are the Gulf states' economic developments really building sustainable industries, or are they just playing pretend with oil money? Well, its traditional industries are all but extinct, but to be fair, that would have happened with or without oil. While the Persian Gulf was known for sailcloth, camels, reed mats, dates, red ochre and pearls, the notion that these industries have contributed to modern development of the Persian Gulf countries when referring to the Gulf's history is nothing more than a farce. Typically, oil wealth can compromise existing local industries, but of course, these would have died anyway. Sailcloth is almost non-existent, camels are primarily used for novelty meat, dates are grown virtually everywhere in the world with similar conditions, pearls are a slow, limited game, and textiles are far from being a rare commodity. Not to mention that these supplies have historically been scarce, primarily being traded amongst those geographically accessible within the Gulf itself. With arid lands that see little to no vegetation, the modern discussion has always been a matter of energy. Energy with numerous limitations, and more importantly, totally non-renewable. Moreover, the rising population is simply too large to support without the current inflow of oil revenue. These countries couldn't supply enough food and water without imports, and they cannot pay for those imports without oil money. For now, this hasn't been a problem for them, and that's a matter of accessibility. In places like the North Sea or the United States, one can see elaborate oil rig systems to pump the resources out of the ground. The oil is there, but it's challenging to extract. In the Persian Gulf though, the oil is so easily accessible that it literally bubbles and shoots out of the desert floor, making it far cheaper to extract than the former. With cheaper extraction and greater volume, it's easy to see why the nations presiding over this coveted resources ran with it. With it only costing about $20 per barrel in places like Saudi Arabia and about $90 per barrel in the deepwater wells. This means that they will turn a profit even if the other regions become unprofitable. But there is a looming problem. The flow of oil is massive, but it's not endless, not by a long shot. Over-dependence on a single industry is never a good thing, and the Gulf states have taken oil dependence to the extreme. This has made the Gulf countries effectively less of an economy in the traditional sense, and more of a barren industrial outpost, constantly dependent on resupplies of literally everything in exchange for their one singular precious resource. So, are there more sustainable ways to guarantee the economy's longevity?